Allah, please split Nigeria into four. Allah, please divide Nigeria into four. We cannot continue this. We cannot continue as a fake United country. Okay, that video shows the desperation of how a common Hausa man wants to get separated from the Fulanis. And of course, his hope and prayer is to see Nigeria splitted into 4 or 6 regions. Well, he is right there at the Mecca, Medina, praying. I think that was his own prayer of the year. And I pray, if God truly exists, that he should indeed put an answer to that guy's prayer, because so many of us are frustrated in this entrapment, in this state of a nation where people are being conditioned, people are being profiled when they are about to attain some level of prosperity. You see what happens with the Igbos? When the Igbos come out to vie for the position of the presidency, we see how they are being profiled. You see how the Igbos are being profiled when they are not even contesting, but when they want to vote for a political aspirant, be it a Yoruba person, be it an Hausa person, but when the Igbos agree to collectively vote for a particular aspirant that is against the status quo, we all know how they get profiled. Are we going to talk about how the Fulanis themselves are getting profiled in this country? Anything that happens today, any evil that happens, whether this happens in Sambisa or it happens in a very remote village in Akwa Ibom, it will be tagged as the Fulanis attack. Once again, I pray and I hope that that boy's prayer gets answered quickly with immediate alacrity by Allah. You see, day by day, as the time and as we all stay longer on this planet Earth, we begin to understand that this country, this contraption, or should I say this entrapment that we find ourselves, that was modeled, that was formulated by the British colonial masters, was made never to succeed. A country whereby over 250 ethnic tribes were forcefully married together. There was no any level of consensus. In 1914, just about a little bit about 4 or 5 persons were there when the amalgamation was about to happen. When the independence of this entrapment was about to be issued, just less than 20 persons were there. The likes of Anthony Enahoro, Bayaro, Tafawa Balewa, Awolowo and co. These were not the true representations of the people. The way the Nigerian as a country got its independence laid down the faulty foundation upon which this country has been placed. And that is why everything seems to be moving backwards in a very high speed. Because if a country truly was laid on a progressive foundation, not a retrogressive foundation like the one of Nigeria, I tell you, we would have agreed amongst ourselves that, you know what, why don't we go and manage our resources, and then we contribute whatever quota we think we can, or we agree on a federal quota that should be contributed by each region, whether it is 10%. We must have a consensus. The only people in Nigeria that are having consensus are the evil men, the evil doers. These are the corrupt politicians from the southwest. These are the corrupt politicians from the southeast. These are the corrupt politicians from the north. They are the only ones that go into consensus. And this is why you see them At every point in time, they are ready to go and bow down to the oligarchs holding on to the progress of this country, the likes of IBB, all these past leaders, OBJ and co. When the likes of IBB were in power, they could have done a simple exercise. Let us regionalize the country back. But instead, IBB created more states to deepen the woes of this mirage called United Nation of Nigeria. IBB could have just declared a decree, just the way in the past. Go on, or is it Agoyin Rosie? Using a decree to make Nigeria a unitary system. IBB, who is still very much alive today and who is revered by all the leaders in power, Tinubu went to seek for endorsement. Peter Obi went to seek for endorsement. Atiku equally went to seek for endorsement. Obasanjo also was there. Obasanjo, who is complaining today bitterly, telling us that Nigeria is retrogressing. Nigeria is like a failed state. I think Obasanjo should just take a backseat and keep short, because he has had the opportunity. Obasanjo ruled, he has been the longest serving president plus head of state Nigeria has ever had. Obasanjo literally has presided over Nigeria for 10 good years. Well, as a military head of state, he was there for over 2 to 3 years. And as a civilian president, 8 straight years. Indeed, he was the foundational president since the beginning of the 4th Republic. He had the chances. He was given a blank canvas. Like, this is a blank ticket or a blank check. The way you want Nigeria to be, formulate it, reform it, restructure it, and let us have a functioning country. Obasanjo could have decided to reform the electoral act. He could have decided to say, you know what, let us have a referendum, or let us have a constitutional restructuring, total revolution in our constitution. Because as at 1999, Nigerians have had enough of the military regime. Everybody were ready to go in the right direction. But we know what Obasanjo did. When Obasanjo came, he further deepened the corrupt practices, the illegalities in our electoral system. We also saw Obasanjo rigged out so many political opponents, his political stooges. We know what he did to Ayo Fayose. We saw how he rigged in Yaradua. If Yaradua had to come out and confess that I accept that my election was never an election but a selection. So you see, this contraption needs more than a prayer for it to be dissolved. The likes of Sunday Igboho, the likes of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the likes of Simon Ekpa, they have always said it, that we need more than prayers. Yes, to suit maybe our sentiment that we are prayer people, that we are religious people, we might decide to say, okay, you know what, let us pray. But the truth remains that the principalities and powers are joining this country together, bonding this country together as a first United Nations, are way beyond ordinary prayers. They need foot on ground. In fact, let me break the knot. It needs an aggressive revolution, a mass movement from the people. The people must agree collectively, because you see all these people that are there today, these politicians, that oil money where they chop, that crude oil found in the Niger Delta region, found in some states very close to the Niger Delta like Abia, Ondo, those in power at the federal level will never want to have the feeding bottle taken away from their mouth. And we also know that so many northern states that contribute nada, no any form of productivity from all these northern states, Katsina, Zamfara, Kano, Sokoto, what do they contribute to the federal purse? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. These are also the obstacles. And this is why I say that the Hausas need to do more to convince us, the Southerners, that they are not one with the Fulanese. The story that you went to Mecca to pray that God should split Nigeria is not enough. When you are done with your prayer, we want you to return back home, educate your people who are largely Hausas, the Kanawas, educate them to move to the street to demand for a disintegration of this contraption or entrapment, as it were. Because we cannot continue like this. We cannot continue like this. If the likes of Awolowo could have said, as at the period of 1957, when he said that Nigeria is just a mere geographical expression, Nigeria is not a country because we do not align our tribes, our reasoning, our values, everything about us are different. When an Hausa man values his religion, is Arabic, when an Hausa man values that he needs to get married to nothing less than 4 wives, a Yoruba man believes he needs to go to school. A Yoruba man believes before he can say he's a religious man, he must have the capacity, financial muscle to cater for his immediate and extended families. He must have a skill. He must have an hand job. An Igbo man equally believes that he needs to be able to be a person who is financially stable to become a man, to become a red cap chief in his community. He believes that he must command respect by the wealth he has been able to garner over a period of his hustles. These are the values that we all have, not in common, but in differences. This is why today we see that some people are seeking for a theological system of governance whereby it is Sharia that governs them. But in the South, these people are totally against such. What they want is a common law. What they want is a situation whereby their children, their government provides free education, provide free access to schooling, to health, not to Almanjiri schooling system. These are the things that has caused the argument. If you check into the social media, if you look at what has been, riling up religious arguments, riling up political argument between the North and the South, it has always been this difference in values, this difference in what we believe should be. Because in the North, they do not care about school. School is not a priority. What they care about is their ability to be able to read and write in Arabic, and then maybe farm already their cows. That is their ambition, limited to that. But in the South, you see them, even from the Middle Belt downwards, they want to be an engineer. They want to be an aeronautic engineer that are building planes, building bridges. In the South, they want to be able to have the capacity to create something from nothing. They want to be able to build refineries. They want to be able to be geniuses. They want to be able to challenge what is called the status quo as the mother nature. That is what the South believe. Like, we must go to school. This is why you see in the South, they tell you, when you are not educated, you are nothing but an empty barrel. we take education as a priority, even in most cases above and ahead religion. You can see these differences. These are the reasons why the eternal, the continued conflict of interest. A prayer alone will not solve this quagmire that we find ourselves in, this entrapment, because the British colonies, the British colonial masters, told these northern oligarchs when we were about to get the independence. He told them, he said, listen, the South is ahead of you in terms of education. The South is ahead of you in terms of intelligence, exposure, meaning they have every opportunity to prosper even before you dream to crawl. But there's one advice that I have for you as a northerner: infiltrate all the security apparatus. This is where the advice the British gave to the Fulanese. And this is what we see today, that in all our security apparatus, the biggest populations or tribe that you find there are the Fulanese. You talk about the Nigerian army? Do you talk about the Nigerian Navy? Do you talk about the Nigerian police force? This were the advice, a very, very divisive advice given by the British Empire, that for you to take a hold on to power, despite your poor level of education, you must ensure that you put most of your children into the military, because it is who that controls the military that will eventually control the political powers. It is he that controls the police, that controls the internal security. And this is why you can see that to an extent these Fulani marauders have been able to fester for too long, because those that are supposed to be curbing them and arresting them are obviously their brothers. When we had a similar scenario in the Southeast, wherein some element came out that they will emancipate their people, call themselves the IPOB, we know how Buhari gave an order that the military in their thousands should invade the Southeast. Today, there is no village in the Southeast that you will not find a military man. But let us go to the north. You can literally travel by car for 1 hour. Then you can imagine when you're using your legs. You can journey for 1 hour in the north. Is it in Borno, that we know has been under the siege of Fulani terrorists? But you can travel for 1 hour in your car and not meet a military checkpoint or police checkpoint. You know why? Your guess is as good as mine. They are brothers. The same military army came out and told us that a repentant Boko Haram has the capacity to become a political leader in Nigeria. That a repentant Boko Haram that was caught right in the act, in that theater of war, committing that atrocity, he has the opportunity, provided he has repented, to become the president of Nigeria above a Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who has never been caught with a piston, not to talk of an AK-47 rifle. This level of injustice, this level of inequality, this level of course, that we all see and observe is why Nigeria should just, at, with an immediate speed, split. Because if it doesn't split peacefully, I'm afraid that it will indeed be a blood filled separation, because we will never and ever continue like this.